I got to admit, the stuff you sent over, it's got me kind of feeling, well, a little off.
Yeah.
We're going deep on a case today, and wow, it's causing some seriously dark reactions online. This whole thing about Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, getting assassinated.
It really is fascinating, isn't it, how this event has just triggered such a strong response. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd think people would be shocked, right, grieving, but it's like there's this wave of, I don't even know what to call it,
I know.
glee. It's almost like people are celebrating his death.
Right. It's like we're in some dark comedy, except it's not, you know?
Yeah.
This is real life.
Yeah.
The article says he was shot right outside his hotel in Manhattan, and the police. They're saying he was a targeted hit, no question.
Oh, wow.
They even found, get this, bullet casings with words on them.
Words. Like what?
Deny, defend, depose. It's like straight out of a movie.
Wow.
But honestly, it's the internet's reaction that's really chilling, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know.
Like, what is going on here?
Well, I think we have to consider the whole context here. I mean, the U.S. healthcare system, it's been, let's face it, it's been under fire for, well, forever.
Yeah.
And companies like United Healthcare, they've been right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
People are just, they're furious
Yeah.
about costs, denied claims, you know? It's like this feeling that profits are more important than patients and,
It's all right there in the article, too.
oh, yeah.
All the grievances against United Healthcare just laid out, denying claims, prioritizing profits over people. It's like,
It's like all that anger, right?
yeah.
It's just boiling over now. Like Thompson, you know.
Yeah.
As the CEO of this giant insurance company, he's become the face of everything people hate
Right.
about healthcare.
Yeah, the target for all that frustration.
Exactly.
And the article even pulls up some, I got to say, really shocking examples.
Oh, really?
Jokes, memes, you name it.
Yeah.
People are straight up praising the shooter, even calling him a hero. It's wild.
You know, that's the internet for you.
Yeah.
It takes these complex figures and just reduces them to, like, symbols.
Right.
Thompson online, he's not a person anymore. He's
Yeah.
just an image, like a representation of a system that people feel is totally rigged.
And when it's all online,
Yeah.
it's easy to forget the real person, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That Thompson had a family, a life, you know.
Right.
It's like people are watching some revenge fantasy play out, and they're into it.
Well, that detachment, it's definitely easier when there's that digital distance.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you've got that echo chamber effect to amplify everything.
Yeah, the article talks about that too.
Oh, does it?
These specific online groups, they push these narratives,
Mm.
they build each other up, and suddenly these extreme reactions, they're not just acceptable, they're encouraged.
Wow.
They even mentioned this one tweet, it's just the alleged shooter's face. That's it.
Mm.
Millions of views, tons of likes,
Yeah.
millions. It's crazy. I mean, what does that kind of engagement even tell us?
I don't know.
Is this just how we deal with outrage now?
It's a grim sign, I think,
Yeah.
of how the internet, it can reflect reality, sure, but it can also just completely distort it.
Mhm.
It can take these existing tensions and well, amplify them sometimes to a point that's pretty dangerous.
Right.
This whole situation, it really makes you question how we even talk about complicated stuff online anymore,
Yeah.
and whether we can do it with, you know, any nuance or empathy at all.
This feels like it's bigger than just one CEO, one company, right?
Yeah.
It's about the system, the whole online world, the whole.
Yeah, the whole thing.
You mentioned dehumanization earlier,
I did.
and the article really focuses on how the internet makes that easier. But isn't that something that happens offline too? I mean, it's got to start somewhere, right?
You know, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to the wider implications here. I mean,
Yeah.
the internet might speed things up, sure.
Uh-huh.
But those seeds of dehumanization, they're often planted in the real world first.
So like how we talk about certain groups,
Exactly.
the media portrayals,
Yeah.
even political speeches, all that contributes.
Absolutely.
Think about how certain groups are just constantly framed.
Yeah.
Immigrants, minorities, anyone with different political
Yes,
views.
they're squeezed into these stereotypes.
Yeah.
Their humanity it's stripped away. It's like it makes it easier to ignore their concerns, or even worse, to justify harming them.
It's like we make these categories in our minds, you know,
Yeah.
these other categories.
Right.
And once someone's in that box, dehumanizing them, it becomes so easy.
It does.
And then you add the internet, all the anonymity, the echo chambers.
Yeah.
It's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Precisely. And what's happening with this CEO,
Yeah.
it's a chilling example of how this whole trend can twist in unexpected ways. It shows that, well, dehumanization can cut both ways.
Right.
Even those in positions of power,
Yeah.
they can become targets, especially when they're seen as symbols of injustice.
It's unsettling for sure.
It is.
And I think it's important to say that not everyone is reacting with this dark humor, you know?
Right.
But the fact that it's happening at all on this scale,
Yeah, that's what's scary.
that's what's really worrisome.
I agree. It's like a wake-up call.
Mm.
It's time to really look at how we're talking to each other online.
Yeah.
How we're approaching these complicated issues and how we can build more empathy and understanding, even when we're angry, you know?
You ever feel that urge, like, to just lash out online? When something feels so unfair.
Oh, yeah, I think we all have.
But this case, it's like it's taking that urge to a whole other level.
It is.
And to really get into what's going on, I think we need to look at the internet's role in all this.
Okay.
How it shapes what we believe, how we react, you know.
Yeah.
That's what we'll pick up next.
Before we were talking about dehumanization, right?
Mhm.
And how it plays out in the real world. But the internet adds this whole other dimension to it.
Right.
It's like a giant amplifier for these kinds of reactions.
You mentioned the echo chamber effect before.
Yeah.
Can you break that down a little bit? Like, how do the algorithms and all those personalized feeds we see online,
Right.
how do those actually contribute?
It all comes down to how information is filtered
Okay.
and how it's presented to us online.
Mhm.
So think about it like this, okay?
Yeah.
The algorithms they're designed to show you more of what you already, like and agree with.
Right. Right.
And it keeps you engaged, right?
Yeah.
But the side effect is that you end up in this bubble
Mm.
where you rarely see any opposing viewpoints.
So if someone's already got strong feelings about healthcare, let's say,
Right.
they just end up seeing more content that confirms those beliefs, and that can push them towards more extreme views.
It's a slippery slope. Yeah. These online echo chambers, they can really distort how you see reality.
Right.
Nuance just gets lost.
Yeah.
And these complex issues are boiled down to these simplistic narratives like good versus evil.
Right.
And in this case, right, the CEO, he becomes the villain.
Right.
He's the embodiment of everything that's wrong with healthcare, and the shooter, he's wrongly painted as some kind of hero.
Right. Like fighting for the people.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
the internet takes a complicated issue and turns it into a comic book.
And the speed at which information spreads online, that can't help, right?
No, it makes it much worse.
I mean, a story like this goes viral in, what, minutes?
Yeah.
No time to really think it through.
That's the thing about the internet.
Yeah.
It thrives on that speed, on that emotional impact
Right.
and accuracy, context. They often take a back seat. So you've got this breeding ground for misinformation where these knee-jerk reactions and these outbursts, they can spiral out of control.
But in this case, the emotional response, it's coming from a real place.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not like people are just being mean for no reason.
No.
They're channeling all this fear and anger about healthcare
They are, you're right.
into this online space.
And we can't dismiss that, right?
No.
These underlying societal issues that are fueling these reactions.
Yeah.
Rising costs, medical debt, people being denied care. These are
Real problem.
These are legitimate concerns that we need to address.
But violence is never the answer.
Never, you're right.
So how do we deal with this? How do we acknowledge those anxieties, that people have,
Right.
while also trying to encourage more nuanced and constructive conversations online? It's a tough one.
It's a challenge, yeah. But I think it starts with personal responsibility. We have to be more conscious of what we're consuming, what we're sharing online. We have to be critical thinkers, checking sources, considering different perspectives.
So being empathetic,
Yeah.
even when you disagree with someone,
Especially then.
trying to understand where that anger is coming from,
Yeah,
instead of just dismissing them as a troll or a hater.
exactly. And we need to remember, right,
Yeah.
that online actions, they have real-world consequences. Celebrating violence, even against someone you see as deserving, it contributes to this cycle of hate and division.
It's easy to forget that there's a real person on the other side of the screen.
It is.
It's like the internet, in a way, it makes us less human.
That's a powerful insight.
Yes.
The internet can be amazing
Yeah.
for connection, for communication, absolutely.
Right.
But it also has this potential to dehumanize us, to make us forget that
Yeah.
we're all in this together.
So what can we do? How do we fight back against this dehumanization? How do we make online spaces more constructive?
I think it comes down to fostering a culture of critical thinking,
Oh.
media literacy. We need to give people the tools to navigate this complex online landscape, you know?
Yeah.
We need to teach them how to separate fact from fiction,
Right.
how to think for themselves, and how to engage in respectful dialogue even when it's tough.
And that includes being willing to step outside of our own little echo chambers,
It does.
to listen to voices that make us uncomfortable.
Absolutely. It's not always easy.
No.
But it's essential if we want to create a more informed online world, a more empathetic world, and ultimately a more human one.
This has been eye-opening for sure.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, I'm also feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this.
I understand.
So much of it feels so big, so complex.
It is.
What can we, like, as individuals, what can we actually do to combat this?
That's a great question, and it really goes back to the heart of what we're talking about here.
Okay.
The internet, it's double-edged sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can connect us, it can inform us, it can amplify our voices,
Right.
but it can also distort our perceptions,
Mhm.
reinforce our biases, and make it easier to dehumanize those we disagree with.
Yeah.
The key is to recognize both sides of this coin and to use our online presence responsibly.
So you're saying it's not about abandoning the internet or
Yeah.
trying to censor certain viewpoints.
It's not at all.
It's about being more mindful of how we use it,
Exactly.
the impact our words and actions have.
Precisely. It's about promoting media literacy, encouraging critical thinking, and fostering a willingness to engage with different perspectives.
Mhm.
And it's about remembering, right,
Yeah.
that behind every username, every avatar, there's a real person
Right.
with their own story, their own struggles, their own humanity.
It's a tall order.
It is.
But maybe this incident, as tragic and as disturbing as it is,
Yeah.
maybe it can be a catalyst for a wider conversation
I hope so.
about our responsibility in shaping the online world.
I agree.
This whole situation it makes me wonder, why this reaction
Yeah.
to this event right now?
Yeah.
What is it about this particular moment that makes this so explosive?
Yeah, it's like this perfect storm of outrage, you know? Like, we've seen anger at CEOs and stuff before, but this feels different. It feels, I don't know.
Yeah.
What makes this case so explosive?
Well, I think you've hit on something really important.
Oh?
It's not just about one CEO or even one company.
Right.
It's like all these anxieties are kind of colliding all at once,
Mhm.
We've got these deep political divides,
Yeah.
growing economic inequality, and then this healthcare system that just feels broken to so many people. It's like
Yeah.
all this frustration has been building for years, right?
Mhm. And this incident is like someone just lit a match.
So Thompson, he becomes the scapegoat,
Yeah.
like the symbol of everything that's wrong in a system that feels rigged.
Exactly. And the internet, well, it acts like this megaphone.
Right.
Amplifying those emotions and often distorting them.
Yeah.
Instead of nuanced conversations, we get these extreme, these black and white narratives.
Mhm.
It's all very us versus them.
The article mentions how some people online are comparing this to those eat the rich memes.
Oh, really?
Like this dark humor becomes a way to, I don't know, to express that deep frustration with the whole system.
That's a fascinating parallel. It
Yeah.
speaks to the sense of powerlessness, when
Wow.
people feel like they have no control over these systems that impact their lives.
Yeah.
Humor, even dark humor, it can be a coping mechanism. It's a
Wow.
way to reclaim some agency.
Even if it's just through jokes and memes. But there's a danger in that too. Right?
Absolutely.
Because even if it starts as a joke, that kind of rhetoric, it could desensitize people to violence.
It does. It normalizes it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to have these these conversations to understand why people react this way,
Mm-hmm.
but also to recognize those potential consequences, you know?
Yeah,
We can't ignore the fact that this dehumanizing language, it can have a real world impact.
Like back when that congressman was shot a few years ago.
Oh, right.
We saw a similar wave of just disturbing comments online.
We did, yeah.
It's a reminder that this isn't just an isolated incident. It's a pattern.
And it speaks to this broader cultural shift, you know? There's this growing distrust of institutions, of authority figures, of expertise itself. And that distrust, it can easily turn into anger and hostility.
So what do we do? How do we bridge these divides?
Hmm.
How do we even start to create space for constructive dialogue?
Right.
When it seems like everyone's so angry and distrustful.
It's a complex challenge. There's no easy answer.
Right.
But I think it starts with each of us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It starts with being more mindful of our own online behavior,
Right.
with being willing to listen to perspectives that challenge our own,
Yeah.
and with recognizing the humanity in those we disagree with.
It's like we have to remember that the person on the other side of that screen
Mm-hmm.
isn't just a username or an avatar.
Right.
They're a real person with their own experiences, their own struggles.
Exactly, and we can't afford to lose sight of that, because if we do, then the internet just becomes this tool for division and dehumanization.
And we've seen where that can lead.
We have.
This has been, well, intense.
Yeah, it has.
It's definitely made me think about my own online habits.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get caught up in that outrage cycle, you know.
It is.
But this is a good reminder that there are real people on the other side of those heated comments.
That's a powerful takeaway, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the online world. We can choose to contribute to the noise, to the negativity.
Yeah.
Or we can choose to build something better.
Something more humane, more compassionate.
Exactly.
I'd like to think we can choose the latter.
Me too.
So to our listener out there, think about your own online experience.
Mm-hmm.
Have you encountered this kind of dark humor? How does it make you feel? And what can you do to promote understanding and empathy in those digital spaces? Because ultimately, it's up to all of us to create a better, a more humane online world.